So let us know when we are good to share Matthias. But while he does that, I just want to briefly introduce why I'm so passionate about international education. I'm very passionate about the industry because I believe in the changes it makes for students. I think international education is one of the very few things can turn your life around, can turn your family's life around, but also turn generations around. Um, and I say that with a lot of confidence because it certainly has changed mine. And I recently saw someone share a post, which I thought was really interesting. If you look at the former US President Barack Obama, uh, he was a product of his father leaving Kenya to go and study in the US. If you look at the current vice president elect, Kamala Harris, her parents left India and um, I think it's Cuba and went to study in the US. And that's the power of international education. It can really make a big difference. So, as I was saying, I work for the University of New England, or as affectionately, and the short form, UNE, one of Australia's leading universities. And we like to go with the tagline that we are turning students into future leaders. And we don't say that just because it sounds very good to say, but we say that because a lot of our alumni have gone on to do great things in Australia and outside of Australia. A few of our alumni are current member of parliament. The former deputy prime minister is an alumni of the university. So we say that with confidence because we've seen a lot of our students graduate and go on to do great things. But who are we as a university? So UNE is one of Australia's oldest university. I think it's the third oldest university. We are celebrating 83 years this year since the university was established. And over that time, it has built a reputation for excellence in teaching, in research, but also in learning. So when you come to UNE, you come to a university that has been teaching for a long time, has really had a great experience in teaching, and you're sure that you're going to get that same quality of education. We have about 20,000 students who are enrolled with the university, and I believe actually those numbers are higher now. It's about 23,000 students enrolled, and about 5,500 of those students, they study in either our Armidale campus or our Sydney campus. And in addition to that, we've got about 1,500 international students. And these students come from a whole different countries, so about 80 different nationalities. We have a really good mix of African students, students from Southeast Asia, students from the subcontinent. And yeah, it's a really good melting pot of cultures. So we love international students. We look forward to welcoming you if you are a new student looking to join us. On the back of that 80 years of teaching experience and excellence, the university has been awarded 5-star, and this is 2021 ratings. So ranked number one in Australia for teaching quality, ranked number one in Australia for student support, and ranked number one in Australia for overall experience. And the last two for me make the biggest difference to international students. The first one, student support. What does that mean? It means that we are walking with you through your studies. We are walking the journey with you. We put in place enough mechanisms to make sure that we just don't enroll you to the university and leave you to your means, but we go the extra mile to make sure that we give you every opportunity possible for you to succeed. And we have one of the lowest teacher to student ratio, which is about 1 to 5. A lot of universities are sitting at 1 to 20. What that means for you, it means that you will have direct access to your supervisors, the class sizes are smaller. And I'll talk about this a little bit later on, but I really like that that indicator, and it's good to see that the university is recognized for it. The other one that I absolutely love is the overall experience, and this one speaks to me directly because I know the value of having a good experience while you're studying. Studying is supposed to be enjoyed, not endured. You don't want to go through 2 years or 4 years or 3 years of your study really enduring life. You want to enjoy it. You want to love it. You want to have a really good time. And UNE again goes out of our way to make sure that our international students do exactly that. And part of that is because most of our students, they live on campus, and we have on campus accommodation scholarships, which I'll talk about later. But also, the Armidale campus is one of the largest campuses in Australia. It sits on 200 hectares odd of land, and there's a lot of things that you can do. And we also offer flexible study options just to make sure that we are helping you get through it easy without losing any charm or without losing any spirit into your studies. Now, how many campuses does the university have? The university has 2 campuses. The first campus, which is our traditional and spiritual campus, is the Armidale campus. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And the second campus is a campus which is in Sydney, in Parramatta CBD. And the Armidale campus in particular is a regional campus, okay? And being a regional campus, it's probably, as I said, really big, and it boasts of aquatic centers, gyms, sports fields. We have 5 soccer fields, 3 rugby stadiums. We have cafes, restaurants, gyms, childcare, bank, bookshop. There's just about everything on campus, including 2 churches and a mosque. So it's a huge, humongous campus, and students will definitely really enjoy just being there, getting that real university experience. Whereas the CBD campus in Sydney is a teaching CBD campus. It doesn't have all the whistles and bells of what Armidale has, but again, you're located in Sydney, which is the hub of Australia and the heartbeat of the nation, quite frankly. Now, you're sitting there asking yourself, if you have 2 campuses, which campus is better for me? So why would you choose Armidale? Why would Armidale be suitable for you? Armidale is suitable for those people who enjoy life in a smaller, quieter regional city. The city only has a population of 30,000 people, and it's a university city. It's a student city, so it has really good nightlife. It has nice clubs, theater, restaurants, cafes, and cinema. So it has a good vibe, but it is still a small town. If you're connecting from Lagos, for example, Lagos has how many? Almost 10 million people just in Lagos itself. Okay, if you're in Sydney, Sydney has 5 million people. So when you talk about 30,000 people only, I really want to paint to you the picture that the city is quite small. But it's one of the most beautiful cities and regional towns in Australia. It's a really old regional town. And that picture, which is to your right, to the bottom, shows you how the city looks like. So it's an old style English looking city, but it's also modern. You have shopping malls, you have shops, cafes. It's just about everything you need as a student. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, why should you really, really consider Armidale? And if you could please mute yourself, I would appreciate it. I think there's a few people who still have their mics on. Studying in a regional towns has some benefits that studying in a city campus does not have. The first one is that the quality of the lifestyle is really good, and it's also very affordable. So a 2 or 3 bedroom house in Armidale will cost you maybe $200 a week to rent. The same type of house in Sydney will cost you $400 to $500 a week to rent. So it's really affordable. The second advantage is that you get additional regional study migration points. So if you are thinking that, look, I really want to go to study in Australia, or I'm in Australia and I really want to study with a university that gives me a couple of extra advantages, should I choose to stay in Australia? So Armidale gives you 10 additional points. The other one, which is really nice for me, and I really like this one, is you get up to 2 years additional post-study work visa. And for those of you who don't know what a post-study work visa is, in Australia, then by all means, you're welcome to come and study at our Sydney campus. Sydney doesn't need a lot of selling because most of you would know Sydney. When you see Australia, when the pictures you see of Australia, about 50% more likely to be pictures of Sydney. And the campus in Sydney is located in Parramatta, which is about 20 minutes away from the city on a train. And it's really close. It's next to the train stations, state-of-the-art facilities, and you're very connected. You're very connected. Now, some of the things that really attract people to Sydney and to Parramatta is that if you're a big soccer fan, and for those of you who are connecting from Australia, you know very well about the Western Sydney Wanderers, which is probably one of the most well-supported soccer team in Australia. But also you've got, if you like AFL, you got the Giants, you got the Parramatta Eels, for those of you who love your rugby. So Western Sydney is a hub. It's probably the biggest next growing city outside of Sydney. The other thing that is really exciting about our Sydney campus is that it's right next to Parramatta Square, which is currently being constructed. And when finished, it will be the largest corporate square in Australia. And that means that you will have access to a lot of companies. You have access to a lot of employers who will probably be tenanting that building. And some of the other good things is that Parramatta is buzzing. It's a commercial district, and there's just about everything you can want there. That's the information about the campuses. If you have any questions about the campuses, post it into the chat and we'll visit each of those questions in just a little bit. The next bit that I wanted to tackle was courses. UNE offers around 200 courses across a whole range of study areas, and that's from a diploma level, a bachelor level, all through to a PhD level. If you want to find out or explore the area of study, you can jump into our website. You will see this tab, and under this tab, if you click onto it, it will show you all the relevant degrees that are available in that study field. Okay, but just to give you, that just gives you an example. There's about 200 different courses. Jump on the website, and then you can find all the different degrees under each of the tabs. Now, what are the academic entry requirements? For those of you who are looking for a bachelor study, we are looking for a year 12 equivalent. For those of you who are looking for a postgraduate study, so a master's, we are looking for someone who has completed an Australian degree equivalent. For those of you who are connecting from Nigeria and Ghana and Kenya, good news is that we exempt students from those three countries from English language requirement. You're not required to provide an IELTS, a TOEFL, or TOEFL, unless you're applying for one of those 6 degrees, which I have listed there. So if you're applying for law, if you're applying for nursing, if you're applying for a PhD, for pharmacy teaching, or a Master's of Scientific Studies, we will request you to provide an IELTS. But if you're applying for all those other 100 or so courses, you're not required to provide an IELTS. That said, depending on the visa requirements specific to your country, the Department of Home Affairs might ask you for one. So the university will exempt you, but just check with your agents on if the Department of Home Affairs requires you to provide one. On to the part that probably most of you are waiting for and looking forward to, is the course fees and the scholarships that the UNE has. What I've done here on this slide is I've just tried to break it down for you guys. I've just tried to illustrate to you how affordable UNE can be. So I've taken a Bachelor of Business. I've applied the scholarship that most of you would be eligible for. And the tuition fee for 2021, my apologies, I need to change that to 2021 fee. You're looking at about 19,800. If you're looking for a Bachelor of Business, you're applying from an African country or an ASEAN country. If I apply all the scholarships that you're eligible for, the tuition fee will be about 19,800. And that's every year. So not only the first year, but every year. You compare that to some of the other universities which are near UNE, most of them go for around the 25 to 32K mark. And if you're looking to go to a group of 8, you're looking at about 40,000 or more. So UNE is absolutely affordable. And in addition to that, you may qualify for one of our other scholarships. Okay. So this page here, I've listed most of UNE's scholarships and bursaries, and I'll go through each one of them. So the first one is, I think most of you, if not everyone in this call, would qualify for, is the UNE International Bursary Awards. Okay. Most of you are coming from Africa, Asia, and the subcontinent, so you're looking at 30% year-on-year tuition fee reduction. So I'll give you an example. So for example, as I said, the Bachelor of Business is $26,000. If you get 30% bursary, it reduces the fee down to about 19,000, and that's 19,000 on year 1, 19,000 on year 2, 19,000 on year 3. So you get that bursary every year that you're enrolled at the university. For some of our courses, for example, agriculture and environmental science, because UNE is the #1 university in Australia for environmental science and agricultural study, we were actually founded as an agricultural research center, and still do the bulk of agricultural research for the state and federal governments. If you're looking to study in one of those areas, you may also apply, or you may also be eligible for a Destination Australia scholarship, which is a government scholarship that encourages students to consider studying in a regional town. They want you to really experience the back, as people say here, the outback. They want you to enjoy what Australia has to offer outside of the major capital cities. So have a look at that, and I'll share this presentation with OAA, and they can then share it with you. But if you're looking at agriculture and environmental science, think about that scholarship, because that's 15,000 every year, which essentially halves your tuition fee. The other one, which is really, really good and I love a lot, and a lot of OAA students have been getting this scholarship, is the UNE International Accommodation Scholarship. Now, for those of you who want to study in the regional town, who want to study in our Armidale campus, this is for you. You can get up to 1 year free on-campus accommodation, which is valued at $11,000. And how do we get to that value? So you'll get a fully furnished room, has all the furnitures, and bed. The only thing you have to bring is blankets and sheets, but everything else is provided. We pay for your electricity, we pay for your internet, we pay for your water, we pay for your heating. The only thing that is not included in that scholarship for accommodation is meals. The only thing you have to worry about is meals. So if you're going to Armidale campus, you can get 2 scholarships. You can get the 30% year-on-year bursary, and you can combine that with an accommodation scholarship, which means the first year you only pay 19,000 if you're doing a business degree, and you don't have to worry about accommodation. You don't have to worry about rent. UNE's got that covered for you, which I think is fantastic. If you're in Sydney, the accommodation scholarship does not apply to you. We don't have the accommodation facilities in Sydney to be able to offer that. Now, some of the other ones that you might want to check out is that if you're sponsored students and you need English to meet the English language requirement, we have a 10 weeks EAP scholarship. And the last one, which I was actually speaking to a student today from Nigeria. So I've been talking with him for the last 3-4 months. And he applied, and I told him, look, he's a PhD student. I told him, why don't you apply for a PhD scholarship? And then he sent me a text yesterday and told me, hey, Francis, I got the fully funded PhD scholarship, at the IPRA fully funded PhD scholarship. So I was so happy for him. And he's an amazing guy, and he's from Port Harcourt, and I know he's going to do really well. So for those of you who are thinking of PhD, UNE does have fully funded PhD scholarships, but you have to be a good student. You have to apply and follow through the process. It's a competitive process, but like the student I'm talking about, Yusuf, you might also be one of those students who are lucky, because if you get that one, we pay for your tuition fee, but we also pay you a stipend for your living expenses. So that's a huge one for PhD students. The last part that I'm going to cover is I'm going to talk about some course highlights. I know earlier on I said that UNE offers about 200 courses. I showed you where to go and find the course that you're looking for. But one of the things that I really love about what I do and why I do it is guiding students to pick courses that will do one of two things. The first thing is that maybe it will allow them to stay in Australia if they choose to. The second thing, that it will open up opportunities so that you can graduate and go and have a great job, a great career in a field that is growing or is booming and expected to boom. So what I've done here is I've picked up a couple of courses that are really popular, but also are really good in terms of their career outcomes. So if you're in the undergraduate, there's nursing there. If you're not a nursing student, my other favorite is the Bachelor of Business Analytics and Informatics, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Social work, and then agriculture and agribusiness. Agriculture and agribusiness. I cannot talk enough about agriculture and agribusiness. For those of you who are looking for a master's, you've got social work again, you've got agriculture again, you've got data science, you've got environmental science and management, and then you've got IT related courses. So I'll pick about 3 or 4 of those degrees, and I'll talk a little bit about why I think they're really good, and why have I picked them, and why are a lot of international students choosing to study those courses. Now, the reason why they're choosing to study those courses is just like before COVID-19. After COVID-19, there are some skills and qualifications that will be needed more than others. The others will be good as well, but there are some others that will be needed just a bit more. And particularly the skills that will be needed more are skills. So the skills that will be needed is communication, adaptability, relationship management, and creativity. So what's communication? Communication is you've studied a degree that enables you to think like a manager, to be able to communicate clearly, to communicate assertively, concisely, and especially during the time of crisis. COVID has really taught us a lot of things, and it's really picked the wheat from the chaff. Those people who can really communicate very well tend not to get into management roles. The next skill that will be really needed is adaptability. So managers who know how to adapt when things go south. People who can approach problems from different angles, different perspectives. But also, more importantly, and for those of you who are overseas, managers who are not afraid to ask for advice. Managers who are not afraid to ask their juniors, what do you think of that? What do you think we should do? And people who are not threatened by people who are better than them, people who can develop diverse teams because they know the value of having a diverse team, as opposed to picking a weak team so that you're the best person on the team. The other skill that will be really needed is relationship management. And this has been an age-old skill, okay? What's relationship management? It's someone who has the ability to stay calm, to inspire those around them, to give clear directions and foster teamwork amidst a crisis, okay? If you're that person, if you're looking to gain skills, that look like that, then the next couple of degrees are something that you should think about. And last but not least, creativity. Creativity. I cannot talk about creativity enough. Why? Because I think if you have been to an interview in the last 3-4 years, that word comes up quite a lot. Are you a creative person? Okay, are you able to think outside the box? Can you utilize, skills from different people? Can you embrace different challenges and develop quick solutions? Are you someone who can think on their feet? Those questions come up a lot. So, what degrees are we talking about? We are talking, for example, about an MBA. So, thanks to COVID-19, probably the world economy is as low as we've seen it in a very long time. For most of you, like myself, it's probably the lowest the economy has been in our lifetime. So going forward, we will really need managers who will rebuild the economy. And we are looking for people who have word skills, people who are innovative leaders, people who are forward thinking and strategies. What is forward thinking? Someone who can assess an opportunity, who can smell an opportunity, but then look for ways to make that opportunity profitable. Opportunities are always there, but can you make it profitable? If I remember correctly, in my marketing classes, they said that businesses that succeed are businesses that solve a customer need, but not only solve it, but solve it better than your competitor. And that requires someone who is an aspiring entrepreneur. You need to learn to think entrepreneurial. You have to be an entrepreneur. You have to be someone who thinks differently. And an MBA gives you an opportunity to think that way. It helps you develop the frameworks to understand customer needs. It helps you acquire techniques for executive level strategy development. Strategy comes up a lot as well. And also, it pays very well. People who have MBAs generally are paid better than people who don't. The other one that we spoke about is data analytics. And I spoke about a Bachelor of Business Informatics and Analytics, and then I spoke about a Master's of Data Science. Now, the world has really, really, really changed. It has changed. Thanks to Facebook, thanks to Google, thanks to Amazon, thank you to Twitter. Probably data is one of the most expensive and sought after commodities today. We live in a very data-driven world. Everything is data-driven. So now we need people who understand data, who know what to do with data, who know how to use data to create opportunities, but also to understand customers and do things differently. So if you are in the field of IT or you are in the field of business and you're thinking about a course that can bring the two together, data science, data analytics is where you want to be. Why? It's the fastest growing occupation globally. The world cannot get enough of these people because the digital companies keep growing. Even companies that were never doing things digitally are now doing things digitally, which means the diversity in the career is endless. You can work in hospitals, you can work in marketing, you can work in HR, you can work in customer service, you can work just about everywhere. Every company these days uses data analytics, including the university. So if I have a proposal that I want my boss to fund, they will ask me, where is the data to back it? Everything these days is backed by data. Companies want to make data-based, evidence-based decisions. Why should you study it? For most countries like the US, Canada, Australia, it's a peer pathway course. So they're looking for people who have that skill. But even better for you, the salaries are quite attractive. They're really good. So an average salary for a data analyst, a graduate working with one of the big 4 banks in Australia, makes about $80,000 a year. And what careers are we talking about when we talk about data analytics? These are the careers that we are talking about when we are starting to talk about data analytics. The next course is, of course, nursing. Nursing. An incredible, honorable career. It just never goes away. It never goes away. Nursing has been there, will always be there. And for those of you who know about the population demographics in countries like the UK, Canada, Australia, the US, is that we have what they call aging populations. The characteristics of an aging population is that most people are baby boomers. They are just about to retire or have just recently retired. And when people retire, when people get old, they tend to get sick a lot more. And that's why they need more and more and more nurses. But one of the other things that is very unique about nursing is that a lot of people refer to it as a guaranteed job kind of career.
Yeah, babe,
You
I just
study,
joined now. Hello.
kindly mute yourself. Thank you. A lot of people who study nursing, you can never go without a job. And the other really good thing about nursing is that it's a global passport. Nurses can move around as they want. Canada wants as many nurses as they can. The UK wants as many nurses as they can. And they will need even more now thanks to COVID-19. The other course that I'm going to talk about is, and it's the second last one, is social work. So you can study a Bachelor of Social Work at UNE, or you can study a Master's of Social Work professional qualifying. And I know OAA sends a lot of social work applications to UNE. Why? Because the Masters of Social Work, particularly the UNE one, is really, really well packaged. It's affordable. It has low English language requirement, but also it accepts students who don't have a social work background because it's professional qualifying. So have a touch base with one of the counselors or Matthias, and they can advise you on whether you could be a good student for social work. Why study social work? COVID-19 has happened. Okay, the economy has really been turned upside down. So you hear a lot about, for example, in Africa, after the COVID-19, a lot of people will be pushed back to poverty. Okay, in other countries here and also in Africa as well, you hear about people turning to addiction, unemployment, disability, mental illnesses, all these issues that have been brought about by the effects of COVID-19 will really need to be repaired. And social workers are the people who do that job. Why do they do that? Because they serve as the liaison between schools, hospitals, and government agencies and families. Okay, they advocate for clients and they counsel individuals and family. And in countries like Australia, because Australia is becoming very multicultural, we have people from very many different countries. In fact, the government recently said that 1 in every 5 people is born either overseas or one of their parents was born overseas. It tells you how diverse Australia is. And when a country is that diverse, they need to find a way of bringing people together. And social workers do that. They help new migrants find new opportunities. They help new migrants find schooling. They just act as liaison between government and families and people. The last course that I'm going to talk about is agriculture and agtech. And the courses that we have at UNE is Bachelor of Business Agriculture, Bachelor of Business Agribusiness, a Master's of Science in Agriculture, please excuse my typo there, and a Master's of Environmental Science and Management. Now, why do I like agriculture so very much? The world today has 7.7 billion people. We are adding 200,000 people every single day. With this big population, it means we need more land for people to settle. So regardless of which country, city, village, or town you come from, I'm pretty sure there are forests or areas that used to be bushland that are no longer bushland, but are big cities now. There are areas that used to be farmland, but they're no longer farmlands. They're cities now. As this population grows, it needs to be fed, and it needs to be fed good food. In addition to this population growth, all the 7 billion of us woke up one day and decided, oh, no, 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 we want organic food. We want organic food. We want good food. We don't want GMO and, factory produced food. We want organic food. So as the world moves towards that, agriculture is changing. Agriculture is becoming a really key area. And for example, in Australia, if you have an agtech qualification, they have even introduced a streamlined permanent residency visa for those people who have an agtech qualification. Why? Because they know that we need to feed our population. We need to help people eat good food, but also we cannot farm it with the old traditional methods. We have to farm better. We have to produce better food, more food with less resources. And that's where technology comes in. And UNE is the #1 university in Australia for agriculture. We have facilities that other universities don't have. We have a center of agribusiness, which brings academic, industry, business leaders together to think about how do we convert agricultural businesses into sustainable businesses, agribusiness. How do we help those people who are in agriculture create sustainable, long, profitable businesses? The other thing that we have, which is really unique, is the UNE Smart Farm. I love the Smart Farm at UNE. And the reason why I love it, because as the name says, smart, it's the smartest farm in Australia. Just about everything is controlled from a control room. Okay, so the little sensors in the field, they sense and they say, oh, the soil is a little dry today. And then someone in the control room says, okay, hit the button, irrigate, and the irrigation kicks off. It's a really smart farm, and it showcases the modern technologies in farming and what farming will look like 10, 20 years from now. And last but not least, if you're that person who is thinking about agriculture, you have a fantastic idea about how to commercialize an agricultural idea, we have the UNE Smart Incubator. And what that is, it's a $2 million facilities for founders, mentors, and innovators. You bring your idea there and you find mentors, you find people, they will create a business platform for you where you can be incubated, where they can encourage and mentor you to build a smart business, to fail and pivot to a very successful business. I've already mentioned that, so I'll skip that. Something else just to really hone in that message about how strong UNE is with our agricultural department. I'll spend 1 minute just talking about, we spoke about when we first started that UNE is ranked #1 in Australia for student support. Why are we ranked #1 for student support? Is facilities like Studio City, where you have an online academic support 24/7. So you got an assignment due tomorrow morning, it's midnight, you're not sure about something, you log on to your Studio City and there'll be someone there to help you. And some of the OAA students who are particularly studying online now because of COVID-19 can attest to how technologically advanced UNE systems are. Academic and exam support. So UNE, we are not in the business of failing students. We are in the business of helping students succeed. We will do everything we can to help you succeed if you do your bit. Okay, so if you study hard, attend your classes, do what you're expected to do, we will do our bit. And some of that includes, for example, exam preparations. These are workshops which are organized for the specific class, where you can go and they'll talk about the exams. They'll say, okay, don't read chapter 5. Chapter 5 is not going to be tested. Just read chapter 6. In chapter 6, read these areas. These are the areas you really need to understand. So they will do everything they can on a one-on-one basis or in an exam prep workshop to give you all the information and all the help you need to do well. Last but not least is academic writing and referencing. This is for students, especially when you're new to UNE, when you're new to Australia. You are required to reference your work for plagiarism purposes. So we give a lot of students support in that first year to make sure they understand what they're expected to do, how they're expected to do it, and to make sure that they do it in the right way so that they pass their exams. On to the important thing, which I think most of you want to know: how do I apply to UNE? Have a chat with OAA, with Matthias or one of his team, one of the persons in the team, and they will get all your documents. They will apply for you in the agent portal within about some offers come around within 3 to 4 days. Some offers for some of the courses that have to be assessed by our team, but also by the faculty, take about 2 or 3 weeks. But we do our very best to give you your offer as soon as we can. So once you get your offer, then you move on to the next stage, which is providing financial documentation, which is GTE stage. And once you've done your GTE and you've been passed, you can accept your offer, pay your tuition fee. We'll send your COE to OAA and yourself, and you can apply for a visa. And hooray, we welcome you into Australia. That's all that I wanted to cover. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a WhatsApp message or send me an email. But importantly, if you can, speak to one of the counselors at OAA first. They have most of the answers. They know UNE just as much as I do, and they are very well placed and very well trained to help you. But if in case there is a question they cannot answer, between me and them, we've got your back. That's all from me. Back to you, Matthias.
Yeah, thank you very much, Francis, for that. That was a very detailed presentation from you. Thank you all for listening. I'd just like to say a few key points. Most importantly is the scholarship. Hardly for you to see an Australian government university to offer 30% on scholarship. Australia international education is well regulated, the qualities are high, and it is also quite expensive to study in Australia. But UNE is offering 30% scholarship. That's a massive savings. And this is only possible due to COVID-19 situation. So I would really like everyone to take advantage of this. You know, tell your friends, tell your family, let them take advantage. To put this percentage in dollar value, let's say, for example, an average degree goes for $30,000 a year. 30%, it's going to be $9,000. And if you're doing a bachelor for 3 years, you're looking at a savings of $9,000 times 3, which is $27,000 in total. That's a massive savings, $27,000 for 3 years. In addition to that, you get 1 year accommodation scholarship. Wow, this is really, really too good to reject. This information is on their website. It's coming to you directly from Francis, so you have the assurance to put in your application, whatever course you want to study. For example, nursing. Nursing is an hotcake course. So far, UNE is the most affordable nursing program based on this scholarship in Australia. So to do a nursing degree in most universities, you're looking at $30,000, but you're getting it for like $21,000. So it's a massive opportunity. I really like everyone to take advantage of it. And so many courses on offer. They've mentioned those courses, they lead to residency. Regional area in Australia is the way to go if you're looking at contributing to Australia. So this is a massive opportunity, and I'll just probably go into question time. Let me look at the questions on the chat. Then we can take questions. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand up and I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, Matthias.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I want to ask a question. Is there any age limit for the bachelor's? Like, can someone that is like 30 years apply for the bachelor's? Let's say
Well,
bachelor's in agriculture.
depends on their work experience, but 30 years is quite old for a bachelor program because we're looking at about 12 years study gap. You know, what have they been
Yeah,
doing
what if
since they finished
yeah,
high
what
school?
if the person has let's say the person has an HND and has work experience in managing hotel, but the person wants to now do agriculture?
Well, an HND is good. That at least that covers the study gap. But we'll need to look for a course that relates. Depend on HND in what. If it's HND in agriculture, then it's
No.
relevant. So we cannot just have a total jump, but the application can be assessed on a case by case. If the statement of purpose, the reason for doing agriculture is very clear, I believe there are some skills and qualification, or if you've done an HND, for example, in marketing, you know, coming to do a bachelor of agriculture kind of connects. The HND in marketing is going to help you to market your agricultural products. So that application will be a good one to consider if the student is interested. As you know, agriculture is big. Even back in Nigeria right now, the government is driving people to go into agriculture. One other thing you need to be aware of, they need IELTS. So any student who wants to come to study at UNE, they're going to sit for IELTS. And it's just the average score of 6.0. Some of the courses require 6.5, some 7.0, like nursing, for example. But if you are from South Africa, for example, South African students, I'll let Francis probably comment on that. For South African students, they don't need IELTS for the visa, but for some of your programs, I know they're going to need IELTS for nursing. What about for other programs?
Just to comment on that, Matthias. So for Nigerian students, we don't require an IELTS for 80% of our courses. But because of the Nigerian visa requirement, they need it. So for those of you who are in the call and thinking about IELTS, the university is not going to ask for it for most of the courses. But if you're studying nurses, we need it. If you're studying social work, we need it. If you're studying teaching, we need it. If you're studying pharmacy, we need it. But because of the visa requirement, you will need the IELTS. If you're from South Africa, you don't need an IELTS because it's considered as an English-speaking country. So from South Africa, the Department of Home Affairs does not require it for your visa. The university does not require it for your application as well. I'll answer some of the other questions that I can see posted here. The first question is, how about job opportunity? Okay, and I'll answer that question in oh, my apologies. I don't think anyone heard anything I said.
That's correct. Sorry, you were muted by mistake. Sorry.
No worries. I'll repeat that again. So as I was saying, if you're a Nigerian student, you could be exempted from an IELTS, but you might need it for your visa. If you're from South Africa, you don't require an IELTS. South Africans don't require an IELTS. If you're from Kenya, you will be exempted. You could be exempted for some of the UNE degrees for IELTS, but again, you might need it for your visa. So an IELTS serves two purposes. The first purpose is academic assessment. The second purpose is the visa assessment. And both of those are two different things. So a university can let you off the hook with IELTS, but the Department of Home Affairs might still require it. And that's why I say speak to Matthias or one of the team members, and they will advise on what's the best way forward. Now, going on to the questions now. Gerard asked, is there a possibility of working while schooling? In Australia, when you get your student visa, on the student visa is a condition that you are allowed to work. You're allowed to work 40 hours a fortnight while school is in session. So during the semester, when you're on holidays, when you're on official school vacations, you can work full time. If you are married and you bring your spouse to Australia, if you are studying a bachelor's degree, they have the same work rights as yourself. If you're married but you're studying a master's degree, your spouse can work full-time unlimited hours all through the time. They are not restricted to any work limitations. Someone else asked a question from Francis to everyone. Oh, there's another Francis. Happy to meet you, Francis. How about job opportunities there? So in Australia, a lot of places, there's quite a fair bit of part-time jobs that students do. As long as you don't have very high expectations that you're going to come and find a job as a director, as a manager, when you're as an international student, there are limitations to what type of jobs you can get, but there's definitely enough jobs and quite a lot of jobs for students to do. If you're studying in the Armidale campus, though, I need to prepare you and tell you that because it's a small town, there's not as many jobs as probably Sydney has. Okay, but the reason why it's popular and students go there, because it might take you maybe 2 or 3 months extra to find the part-time job, but you will find the part-time job eventually. There's one company called Costa Farms, which packages tomatoes. They are one of the biggest employers for UNE students. And then there's a lot of, Armidale is a very tourist area, so there's a lot of motels, and some students get a job there in cleaning. There's cafes, restaurants, so there's a few jobs, but you just have to be patient. And that's one of the reasons why we give you a 1 year free on-campus accommodation, so that you can look for a job within the first 3 months or so, and you don't have to worry about bills. Now, the next question that came through was, Masters of Social Work normally require 6 weeks of work experience as part of the course. Are there possibility of getting a placement in Armidale? No. So that is a really good question. So thank you to the person who asked it. You don't require work experience to join or enroll into the program. Okay? You don't need work experience to enroll into the program. But within the program, within the 2 years of a Masters of Social Work, you will be given 1,000 hours of placements. Okay, so you'll be given well more than 6 months of work placements, and that placement is organized by the university. That placement is organized through the university, so they will tell you after the end of the semester you're going to a placement in a certain place, and that could be in Armidale, that could be in Sydney, that could be in Inverell, that could be in Tamworth, it could be anywhere within New South Wales. The other question was the HND question for agribusiness, which Matthias has addressed. The other one was about what is the English language requirement for nursing. For nursing, you need a 7.0 in all the 4 bands and average as well. Okay, but Nigerian students, African students, we can speak very good English, so I'm pretty sure you can nail a 7 quite easily. Do we have a Bachelor of Education by UNE? Yes, we do. Carlson, we do have a Bachelor of Education. Can someone who read the guidance of counseling, who read guidance and counseling 3 years customer service, apply for Masters in Social Work? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. That's actually quite a good qualification because you've done guidance and counseling, you got 3 years work experience, so you can apply for the Masters of Social Work. I'm 38 years old, I have 10 years of work experience, can apply for a master's considering the age. Yes, you can, but as Matthias said, we need to see your documents. We need to have a look at your resume. See if you have any study gaps. See what you studied in your undergraduate and what you did for your work experience. Are they related? If they are related, why are you doing your master's now? So we need to just look at a couple of things, but there's no hard age limit for anyone to study a course. What we look at is that it doesn't make sense for you to be studying at this time. So again, easy, get your documents with OAA, they'll have a look at them, and between me and them, we can advise you on whether it's okay. The university will always give you an offer. The reason why we might say no is if we believe that your visa might not be granted. So it's more of a visa question less than a university question. But myself and the OAA team can definitely help you answer that question. Chris, are there any trade-related courses like welding? No, we don't have trade-related courses, but OAA works with a lot of other institutions and providers, and I'm pretty sure if you speak to them, they will find you a course in one of their other partners who might have courses in trades. All right, how much can one be paid per hour? So how much can one be paid per hour? It's a really good question. Wages in Australia are regulated by the federal government. And at the moment, the minimum wage is $17.10. So $17.10. So an employer can pay you the minimum wage, which is $17, and an employer can pay you the maximum wage that they want to. They can pay you $100 an hour if they wanted. It just depends on the type of job you get, the employer that you're working for, but obviously there is that minimum wage which is set by the government, so at least you can think about that. Can someone who studied linguistics but have 5 years experience in marketing apply for nursing? No, but probably you want to apply for Masters of Social Work, okay? Because linguistic and social works are related, but linguistic and nursing are not related quite yet. But also your experience is in marketing. So if you did linguistic and you told me I've been working in a hospital for the last 5 years, or I've been working in a nursing home for the last 5 years, then we can consider nursing. But because you have experience in marketing, you're coming from a linguistic background, the most suitable course for you would be a Masters of Arts or a Masters of Social Work. One of those two courses is what you're looking for. The next question. Please have on-site studies started for international students post-COVID. So Australia is doing an amazing job when it comes to COVID-19. I think some states like Northern Territory, Queensland, Western Australia, they haven't had a case of COVID-19 for months. Some of them, the last time they had a case of COVID-19 was in April. In the two big states in New South Wales and Victoria hasn't had a case in 28 days. New South Wales hasn't had a case in just about the same. So Australia is doing an amazing job in controlling COVID-19. But that said, our borders are still shut, which means because of all the COVID restrictions, even the international students that we currently have on campus are studying online. The plan is for them to transition to on-campus study sometime next semester when it's safe to do so. Guys, remember that COVID-19 situation changes by the hour, if not by the day. So today we could be saying Australia has 0 cases. Tomorrow we could be saying Australia has 1,000 cases. So if everything goes as it has, if people keep doing the right thing, if we keep having no cases, students will go back to on-campus studies by sometime next year, next semester. So that said, for those of you who are overseas, there are pilot projects that the government is trying to experiment to see how they can bring international students back safely into Australia, but they haven't given us the firm dates on when those will happen. We expect that will happen sometime next year. If I'm very honest with you, I think it will happen towards the mid of next year once the COVID vaccine is out, but it could happen sooner as well. So most of these things are a wait, watch, and see, but the government is really working hard to try and see what they can do to bring international students back. I am aware that they have given the states up to end of next week to give the federal government a plan on how they want to bring back international students. So they are looking at it. Just be a bit the process. Get your offer letter, get your GTE done, enroll and accept your offer. Apply for the visa so you have your visa. Be one of those fast students who come when the borders reopen. And the way to do that is to start your process now. The next question was professional. Yes, please.
Hi, good morning. With regards to the GTE process for Nigeria, it's sometimes a little bit dicey. It's find it very difficult passing GTE. So I want to know, what's the GTE? How can the GTE process for UNE be made easy for students to apply? And what's it like generally?
Okay, so it's a really good question and a very particular question. So what's GTE? GTE stands for Genuine Temporary Entrant Criteria. It's the same criteria that the Department of Home Affairs uses to assess your visa. So it's a good thing in one end, because if you pass your GTE at the university level, you are about 70% halfway there, because especially if a university has a strict GTE like UNE has, you know that if the university has passed it, most likely Department of Home Affairs will agree with it and they will grant you a visa. In terms of, is it easy or is it difficult? It's a student-based thing. If you are a straightforward case, you have no gaps, you have very good funding coming from mom and dad, they have really good financial statements. If your case is very straightforward, it's an easy case. If you are married, you have gaps in your education, you studied, you've been to a lot of other countries before, there's a lot of things for us to check, okay? So generally my advice is that be very honest with your agent. Just tell them, look, this is, if you can say, this is what I've done in the last 5 years, bang, 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 and then have documents to back up what you're saying you did. If you're saying I was employed at XYZ company, you should have a recommendation letter. You should have some pay slips from that company. So it's about preparing yourself and putting your documents together in a way that the university can assess it quicker, in a way that we can look through it and say, yeah, tick, 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 done, okay? It's a good process because, as I said, if we agree with it and pass your GTE, it's almost like saying, yeah, your chances of getting a visa are very high. On to the next question. I'll go through them a bit quickly now. Can a professional accountant switch to agribusiness or agriculture? Yes, an accountant can switch to agribusiness, okay? Because agribusiness is part of within the business industry, but you work as a as an agribusiness banker, as a agribusiness consultant, working with people who are in agriculture. So yes, you can do the switch. What of Bachelor of Radiography and Sonography? Is it here? No, we don't have that course. Can someone that studied political science apply for social work? Yes, you can, but we need to have a look at the degree, have a look at some of the subjects that you studied, from whether it's equivalent to an Australian degree, before we say yes. So yes, partially, but send your documents to OAA so they can send them to us and we can make further assessment. How is tuition like? Can tuition be paid partly? Really good question as well, Izzy. So you don't need to pay your whole year tuition fee at once. It's broken down in 2 components. So once you accept your offer, we will ask you to pay half of the tuition fee. Again, using the example with our Bachelor of Business, and the tuition fee is 19,800, they'll ask you to pay 9,800. The next 9,800, you'll be asked to pay it after 6 months, after your first semester. So it's paid in 2 installments every year. I hope that clears that question. Okay, on to the other question by Carlson. May you share the link to this meeting for references? I joined late. I'll share the presentation with OAA, and I'm pretty sure they're more than happy to share it as well. Can a person who completed a diploma in accounting and a degree in leadership and change management apply for? Doreen, I'm thinking of an MBA here. So an MBA International. You have a business degree. You've got leadership and change management. I think an MBA could really be a good fit for you. All right. The other one is someone, Lillian asked, in Sydney, there are problems of accommodation with respect to university not granting scholarship to Sydney. Yes, as I said earlier, we cannot give accommodation scholarships in Sydney. Why? Sydney has a population of 5 million people. It's not easy to build 7 colleges like we have in Armidale. In Armidale, we have 7 colleges, and each college has maybe 5 buildings for accommodation. We don't have that in Sydney. Sydney is also very, very, very expensive. Okay. And there's a lot of part-time jobs in Sydney as well. So students can work part-time and make money to pay their own rent. So yes, unfortunately for those who want to study in Sydney, we just don't have the accommodation scholarships. You'd have to source your own accommodation. If you want the accommodation scholarship, you're more than welcome to join the Armidale campus as well. The other question was, secondly, as new students, will OAA take care of accommodation for the time being till a student finds one? I'll let Matthias answer that. Matthias, are you there? There's a question here by Liliane. If a student is new to Australia, does OAA take care of accommodation for the time being until they find one? Are you there? All right, while we wait for Matthias, I'll carry on with the question.
Yes, I'm here. It's just a little bit windy on my background, so.
We can hear you very well.
Okay, perfect. So basically, what was the question?
The question was, the student is thinking about studying at UNE Sydney, and she's aware that the university does not offer accommodation scholarships for Sydney. So her question was, can OAA take care of accommodation in the time being while a student tries to find one?
Sure. Before arrival, we help our students with accommodation. So it's going to cost about $180 a week to $200 a week. So we'll secure an accommodation from them, and we also provide airport pickup. So we'll pick up the student from the airport straight to the prepared accommodation. So that won't be an issue at all.
Fantastic. The other question was from Gerard. He's got a HND in logistics and management, and he's got experience.
Yes, I think that is the same student that relates to the agriculture. So okay. This is not a bad option if you have an HND in shipping management. During an agricultural degree, we need to review the other aspects of the gap, what they've been doing for employment. Shipping management, it's not so far from agric. You know, you'll still have to do some work around that. So that won't be an issue.
Fantastic. What is GTE? I think we just explained what GTE is. GTE is Genuine Temporary Entrant Assessment Criteria. So what we are doing when we are looking at your GTE, we are looking to make sure that the work experience that you have stated on your CV is accurate and true. And we will call the employer. We'll ask for as many documents as we can to make sure that that is true. We'll ask for financial documentation. We'll ask you for gaps, explanation of gaps. The reason why we do that is it's the same criteria that the government uses to assess your visa. So we want to assess your visa somehow, not assess your visa, but we want to make sure that before we give you a COE, before we ask you to pay your big dollars to the university to get a COE, that we are at least to some level confident that you can get a visa. So that's what GTE is. Gerard asked another question. Is the visa application currently ongoing? Yes. As far as I'm aware, Pretoria is processing visa. They have also opened with biometrics and medicals. So you can complete your visa and they can assess it and grant it. That is happening. The other question was, if a person in Nigeria gets an offer and accepts, then study online, pending opening of the border, will it count towards study in regional area for migration? What a good question. Yes. So the government has made a commitment that if you're a student who is based overseas, you get an offer, you do your GTE, you pay your fees, accept and start online, you will be eligible for post-study work visa. You will also be eligible for regional study advantages and migration points. So that's a very strong yes. There is Ize asking about BSc and Chartered Accountant, what course we recommend for them. Again, I'll probably go the MBA way. If not MBA, Masters of Professional Accounting in Australia. And then there is Franklin asking, I wanted to ask a question about IELTS. Is it okay to transition into health system in Australia as a doctor? I'm not so sure as a doctor, Franklin, so probably touch base with Matthias and his team about how to transition from being a doctor in Nigeria to being a doctor in Australia. It's a pretty, medicine is pretty restricted in Australia for good reason, because everyone wants to feel very comfortable, and they want to really uphold their healthcare system. So have a chat with Matthias. That's probably a question for him more than me. That's as many questions as we've had. Unless there are any other questions, I'll hand it back to Matthias to close. Thank you everybody for attending the session. I've really appreciated having all of you here. It's an honor for myself. And again, as I said, international education is expensive. I don't shy away from that fact. It's an expensive affair, but it's a very rewarding affair as well. It has changed my life. It's changed Matthias's life. It's gonna change the life of generations after us. So it is expensive, yes, but think about it from a higher perspective. What can it do for you? Okay, what opportunities can it open for you? And do everything you can to get there. I hope that I'll see all of you at Q&A someday soon. And if you see me, because I can't see most of your faces, but I'm pretty sure you can see mine. If you see me at Q&A, please just stop and say hello. I'm more than happy to buy you a coffee, and we can have a quick chat. Thank you so very much. I'll end it there. Back to you, Matthias.
Yeah, thank you so much, Francis. Thank you for that presentation and for the answers to question. I'm not going to take much of our time, just letting you know one more time. This is an opportunity you don't want to miss. 30% scholarship, it's a lot. And it's not just a scholarship for the first year, it's for the full duration of the program. If it's a 2 years master's, you get it for first year and second year. That's 9,000 times 2, which is 18,000. In addition, you get accommodation scholarship, worth 11,000. So getting a job in Australia, it's never a difficult task. Everyone in Australia have the opportunity to work. There is no student who does not have a job. It might take them a bit of time. Some it might take them 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, but eventually they get a job. So regardless if you're going to Armidale or you're going to Sydney, the focus is you have an affordable university to get into Australia. This scholarship is not going to last long, so contact any of our team right now. Let's get your application in for March intake. The good thing is you can start your study online. While the border is still closed, your visa will be processed. When your visa is granted, you start your study online and you can always come to Australia. Lastly, it's the post-study work visa, okay? Armidale presents an opportunity for you to get additional 2 years post-study work visa. So In Australia, normally you get 2 years post-study work visa when you do a bachelor or a master's in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, any of the city area. But if you go to regional area like Armidale, you get 2 years extra. Usually, 2 years is not enough. Time flies very quick. Most of my students who came to Australia in 2018, we are now extending their student visa for them because some of them do not have the opportunity to get post-study work visa. Those who got post-study work visa in 2018, they are not going back to student visa because they don't have enough post-study work visa. So this is an opportunity you need to think. You need to think wisely and you need to think carefully. The other benefit of going to UNE, you're going to be saving $11,000 for accommodation. $11,000, that's a lot of money you're going to be saving. If you divide that by $20, that's 550 hours. 550 hours of employment. If you have to work in Australia, you need 550 hours to earn $11,000. So 550 hours, if you divide that by 20 hours a week, that's about 27 weeks. So it's a win-win situation. So I'm just going to leave you all with this. If you have any questions, we know we have about 52 people attending. Speak to any of our team and we'll be more than happy to assist you. Thank you all. If you have any question, my number, I'm going to leave my number on the chat. You can send me a message on WhatsApp.
Sorry, Mr. Matthias.
Yeah.
Very sorry to bring a question lately. I have a situation here.
Go ahead, go for it.
Okay, I have a situation here whereby you, first year university student, you're studying in degree in bachelor's in education, and he wants to study in Australia. But are there any credits being given exemption of other courses from the university?
Yes, it's going to be on case by case. They'll need to review the course outline. So the student will need to provide a unit outline, which is the course outline for each subject they want a credit for. And it's a common sense. So if, for example, you do a unit called business law in South Africa, and there's a unit called business law in UNE, that name sounds the same, but at the same time, the law may be different in both countries, okay?
Yes.
Which means sometimes the student may not get it if they go through the course outline. So that's why we need the course outline for each subject they want the credit for. But they'll definitely get something off, mostly elective courses, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you,
Any other question? Thank you all. I'm going to end the session now. So my number is on the screen. You can always give us a chat. And thank you all for joining. Thank you for sharing. And keep inviting more people to our next session. We're going to have another session coming up sometime next week. Thank you. Bye.